Hi, I'm Rick Tibbetts. Welcome to Unlimit Yourself. I'm glad you're here. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about social media and what I like to call constructive envy. Nowadays, all of us, especially those under 30 years old, are acutely aware of the impact of social media in our day-to-day lives. Sites like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and Reddit are by far the most popular public forums available, and most of us use these platforms dozens of times per day. With that said, countless studies have shown such frequent use to be strongly linked with lower self-esteem, and it's no wonder why. Having everyone's affairs available at your fingertips 24/7 invites ample opportunity for unhealthy comparisons, jealousy, and envy. However, instead of delivering the same old social media is bad spiel that so many others parrot, I want to offer a different perspective. One that retools the negative emotions we experience on social media to motivate us and help us achieve our goals. Let's get started. Hello and happy Flag Day, everybody. I'm sure you've been told that dozens of times today because, hey, everybody celebrates this holiday, and I'm sure you're no different. I'm sure you're out there waving the stars and stripes in your front yard and having a grand old time. And by that, I mean, I'm sure you are, watching Netflix or just tuning into this show and not doing very much to celebrate the day. But nonetheless, happy Flag Day. Much respect to the stars and stripes. Before we dive into the actual subject matter of this show, I also want to talk about some light news. Just got back from Virginia Beach. I highly recommend. Great beach, very long strip with all kinds of restaurants and clubs and clothing stores, and it's wonderful. Great, I had a great time down there, very relaxing. The weather wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. So if you ever find yourself down in Southeast Virginia, that's where you need to go. Now, let's dive into the actual topic of this show. So, full disclosure, I use social media as much as the next guy, mainly Instagram and Snapchat, very much big on the visual mediums. So, I, of course, am always scrolling through my feed and seeing everybody's life and affairs and how people who I knew many years back, who I haven't spoken to in many years, are doing. And something that we don't think enough about is just how unprecedented that is. Right? You're able to scroll through your feed and check in on the lives of people you know dearly, people you know somewhat, and some people who you don't even know at all, especially if you're following celebrities. You get to see how they're doing, what they're up to, how they look, where they're going to school, what they're doing for their job. At the click of a button, in an instant, you are updated on this information. This is entirely unprecedented. This is not how it was for the entirety of human history. If you wanted to check in on somebody for most of human history and find out how they were doing, you had to call them on the phone, you had to write them a letter, or you had to see them in person. You didn't get to just instantaneously pull up their profile and check in on their life in less than a few seconds. That's entirely new to the human experience, and I feel like that's not being appreciated enough. Right? I mean, I am a part of Gen Z, or iGen, so I very much grew up, like my cohort, with screens in front of me and all kinds of social platforms, and that was just natural. That's just what I grew up with. And when you really start to think about how novel that is, and how being confronted with other people's lives on the daily, other people's lives, not your own, but constantly other people's lives, what that can do to your psyche, what that can do to your self-confidence, to your self-esteem, it has a major effect. And why is that? Because when you are routinely seeing and being updated on the lives of other people, those you care about, those you don't care so much about, and some people who you really don't care about at all, when you're constantly updated on that and you see that information all times of the day, it gives you so much opportunity to reflect on yourself. And self-reflection is not a bad thing. I am all for introspection. But when you are constantly looking inward after having looked outward at the content that's there on your feed, it can create a toxic feedback loop that can foster a habit of comparing yourself to other people. This can make us feel bad about a whole range of different things in our lives. Our bodies, our clothes, our jobs and careers, our relationships, our salaries. In many ways, social media, by this very construction, is geared toward making us feel angry, jealous, frustrated, and envious. What we fail to see are the struggles and challenges that people are going through. If you're going to post a photo or video on social media, you're certainly not going to be posting a photo of, say, you arguing with your partner, or you falling off a bike, or you not getting a job, or you having a hard time learning a new skill. You're not going to be posting all of that on Instagram or on Facebook or on Snapchat. You're going to keep the hardship and difficulties to yourself. And you should, and rightfully so. But by only posting the positives when we all do that collectively, it makes it seem like our lives are a lot more glamorous than they are. And this gives us an inaccurate picture of who people are and how people live when we see their social media feed. Still, knowing that there's more to the story doesn't always help us when we see all this content in our feeds. We can still fall victim to feelings of jealousy, frustration, and envy. But where I diverge from others who speak on this topic is in thinking that these negative emotions are always bad. I would agree that most of the time they are. It is entirely unproductive to fester in anger or frustration, all because somebody else got married, went on a great vacation, or maybe got a new job. Sitting idly and doing nothing with those emotions is unhealthy, unhelpful, and unproductive. But it doesn't always have to be. We can use those feelings of jealousy or envy, however slight they may be, to motivate us, to push us to get up off the couch and incentivize us to achieve our goals. In essence, we should be striving to use these negative emotions as fuel to improve our life circumstances and motivate us to be the people that we want to be. If we see somebody else on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is, if we see them living the way that we want to live, doing the things that we want to do, well then there's nothing wrong with being a little envious. Nothing wrong with having a little bit of jealousy. That's okay and that's natural. But it's all in how you use it. And before I go on, I want to make very clear that you should not let the happenings of another person's life detract from the pride that you feel in your own accomplishments and the life that you lead. You should be proud of yourself. And you should be happy with what you have, who you are, and how your life is going if things are in fact going well for you. But if there's something else that you want to achieve, some goal that you want to accomplish, and somebody else has already accomplished that goal, or is living in a way that you one day hope to live, then there's nothing wrong with using that as motivation to push you in that direction so that one day you can be doing what they're doing, or that you can achieve what they achieved. This is what I mean by constructive envy. It's something that I've used in my own life. I'm not only speaking in theory about something that I think might work. I've used this many times. For me, a byproduct of constructive envy is this very podcast. For many years, I would see people that I know developing their own creative ventures, whether that was a video series, a podcast, an art page, their own website, whatever it was. And when I saw what they were doing, I would become a little frustrated and envious because to me what they were doing was so impressive. They were being vulnerable. They were showing their creative side. They were bearing their soul to the world in an unabashed, unapologetic way. As someone who's always wanted to be a content creator of some kind, seeing the content these individuals were posting was infuriatingly inspiring. And that negative emotion, that constructive envy, is what helped motivate me to create Unlimit Yourself. So the next time social media gets you down, stop and take stock of all the things that you should be grateful for, all the things that you've accomplished in your life already that you should be very proud of. And then, if you want, repurpose those feelings of envy, frustration, jealousy to propel you to be a better person and live the life that you want to live. Before I end, I want to note that this episode is based on the assumption that you are someone who, like the majority of us, uses social media on a regular basis. Constructive envy is a tool that can help those who fall under this category gain something positive from the unhealthy social comparisons we all conduct from time to time. However, the more effective way to maintain a healthy self-image is to stay off social media when possible, avoid monitoring other people's content, and focusing on your own affairs. After all, comparing yourself to who you were yesterday and striving to be better is a much more productive exercise than actively comparing yourself to others. That does it for today's episode on social media and constructive envy. Today, we talked about the well-known downsides of social media, like how frequent use can lead to chronic, unhealthy social comparisons and lower self-esteem. We also discussed how you can use those negative feelings as motivation to be or do better in your own life. In other words, constructive envy. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Be sure to leave a comment on my website, richardtibbets.com, and let me know what you think. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.